Okay, we live. Peace, family. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Let me see if I can get this light in a little bit better. Okay, hit the thumbs up on your way in, but I just want to show y'all a quick visual because it came to me. Let me see if y'all can, let me make sure y'all can see me. Okay, so I want to give you a quick visual of how timelines manifest and what it means to be in alignment. This has come up for me plenty of times, and I think I've tried to show this before and it didn't really, like, it wasn't on a large enough space or canvas for me to really show y'all how it works, right? So I'm just gonna show y'all this real quick. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully this is the most layman's terms I can give it to y'all in. But I'm gonna show you how things manifest, how timelines work. When I say things like we want to manifest our highest vibrational timeline, I want it to be visual. You know, for people who are visual learners, I want it to make sense, right? Peace, family. So hit the like button on your way in and we'll get started, okay? Actually, I'm gonna give y'all a second to get settled. Y'all greet each other. I'm gonna get the libation started and we're gonna get started, okay? Okay. So boom, we back. Okay, let's do it, right? So let me show y'all how this works, right? So this is you, right? To all the goddesses known and unknown, Ashe. I have the libations over there poured, right? So let me break this down, right? So this grid that I have here is what we're going to call, for all intents and purposes, this is the collective unconscious for you, right? This is your collective unconscious. This is all of the paths that you can take. This is all of the timelines. This is all of your options, right? Live in the collective unconscious, right? So this collective unconsciousness is connected to source, which is what this will be, right? So this is source. This is source, right? This is where we come from. This is where all collective ideas come from, whatever you want to call it, right? And the collective unconscious, we could call it a grid, right? So this is all these options. You will find yourself, this is you, somewhere here, right? So say you are here on the grid, right? I'm just going to give y'all an example. This is where you are now, right? Say you have, well, we'll talk about the seven chakras, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? The crown, right, is what's closest connected to source. That's your intuition, right? You're most closely connected through your crown chakra, which is where our downloads come from, everything like that, right? This is your root, right? So here's an example, right? When we're born, right, they say things like babies are most closely connected to source, to God, right? They're the closest connection, right? Because when you come from source, you tend to live in the highest vibration, right? Babies are closest connected to source because they haven't set in to any of these other chakras. They're in their crown. There's no fear, nothing, right? So babies haven't descended. Their energy is not heavy enough. They're not here in their fight or flight, right? So we'll call this the root, right? Their fight or flight responses have not kicked in. So they're not in the root. This is why babies are closest, because they're operating from the crown. They just came from here, right? And as they go through life, as we all go through life, we tend to descend, right? You're descending, right? As we come down, we tend to descend, right? Because now as we get older, we have to live in what is in the root. You got survival, you have fight or flight responses, all of that. Babies haven't kicked into their fight or flight response. They know nothing about survival. They just know about these right now moments. They know that they're still closely connected to source, whatever, right? So source is also the closest connection we have to death and rebirth. Death and birth, rebirth, all live right here. All lives right here within source. What you come from, you will once again go back to, right? So when we think about that, we start here, we descend, we come down, whatever. Then we start to learn about life. We're in the root, whatever. As we get older, we go back up that scale, right? You go back up that scale. You go from root, then you turn into puberty, you're in your sacral, you're learning about sexual, reproduction, all these things. Then you turn into the solar plexus, which turns into action, right? Then you get to living in the heart space. We learn about our desires, what we want, what we're passionate about. Then you express it, which is the throat chakra. You're ascending, right? Through all these things. The throat chakra is your expression, right? Then you have the brow, which is you opening and awakening, right? People get here once they're opening and awakening their consciousness. And then you get into the crown, right? Which is the highest expression of that energy, right? You're in alignment with your divine purpose and your source, right? So here we have all these different options, all these different timelines, right? So for example, say you're here and you want to be in alignment. This is what we call alignment, right? Being on the path. This is the straight and narrow, right? You're on the path to source. What we come from, we're trying to get back to. That's what people need to understand. Everybody in this world, I don't care if they believe or don't believe in God, in a higher power, in a source, in the creator, whatever. We all trying to get back here. We're all trying to decode our environment and get back to source, which we came from. Right? We're all trying to figure out where we came from and how to get back to that. How to live in purpose to get back to this, right? Because for some reason, innately, we all know our purpose is connected to source, right? So this is alignment. You being on the path of the straight and narrow. The path that is, you start here and you do everything you're supposed to do. This is alignment. You're following your intuition. Source is also connected to intuition, right? Source is pure intuition. This is intuition. When we get downloads, when you get information, right, and it's divinely inspired, and we're like, this is the exact thing that I needed, wanted, whatever. You're in alignment. You get that intuitive hunch. That energy meets you in alignment wherever you are, right? And you express that energy outwardly. That is being in alignment, right? So how you know you're out of alignment, right? We'll talk about fear. Y'all ain't gonna be able to see this because it's written backwards, but you understand, right? So fear. This is fear, right? Fear is a very low vibrational state, right? It ignites the fight or flight. It ignites and sets the root on fire that you need to survive. But fear and worry vibrate like this, very slowly, right? Okay. Joy. Joy vibrates at this rate, very fast, right? Source, right, is the purest manifestation of frequency. So it vibrates very fast, right? The fastest vibration, right? So when you vibrate here in fear, you are the furthest away, because you're here in the root, you're the furthest away from source. When we vibrate in joy, right, it brings us a lot closer to source, which is the purest vibration of intuition, the purest and highest manifestation of happiness and joy and bliss. Bliss lives here, right? Birth and death manifest at the same vibration of bliss because you're returning back to, no matter if it's a traumatic death, whatever the case may be. Once you finally get back to source, it is bliss. This is what you come from, right? So boom, right? So two things. Fear vibrates in two different ways, right? Depression, right, vibrates in two different ways. Say I'm here, right? And this is where I'm at. This is where I'm trying to get to. When you live in the future, right, you manifest upwards and outwards. When you live in the past, you literally manifest backwards and you descend, right? So the future vibrates this way. So say you're on this timeline and you're forward thinking. I'm thinking of the future. I'm thinking of possibilities. I'm thinking of what I want to manifest. You're going in this direction, right? But when you take action towards those intuitive hunches, towards the future, towards those manifestations, you ascend, right? That's energy in motion. That's energy in action. That's emotion, energy in motion. You are moving. You're taking what you see and you're acting on it. That's bringing you to a higher vibrational timeline, right? You're acting out the future, right? So it literally causes you to ascend, right? When you're living in the past, so say you're here, right? You get depressed. Your energy is descending. That's why it's depression. It's bringing you down. It's a heavier, slower vibration. So you're not manifesting here. You're manifesting in the past. So not only are you going backwards, but then the past is depression. It brings you down. You descend, right? So this works in multiple ways too, because a lot of times we get on this path and we think like, okay, how come people are not vibrating the same as me? How come I've lost people on the path? How come people are not on the same page as me anymore, right? If you're thinking forward and you're taking action towards the future, you're manifesting based on what you are in alignment with, right? People that were once on this timeline, right? So this could be other spaces and phases you've been through on this time. You've already been here. You're saying, I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm going to look towards the future, right? So now you have the ability to visualize what it is that you want. You take action towards it. You're in alignment with what the energy, this is source, because this energy comes down. This energy is always descending upon you, right? This energy comes down. You follow those intuitive hunches, and now you're in alignment with your purpose, right? So when you align with this timeline, right, you're moving out of these spaces. Other people could be on these timelines. Other people also could be on these timelines, right? So you met a person when you were in this state. You were in the past. You were still acting out the past. You were not growing from that, right? To grow is to expand. You would then be ascending, right? So you're not ascending, right? So people they're wondering why this is not manifesting and making sense to them anymore, because you're acting through your purpose. You're acting and allowing source to work through you and move you to a higher vibrational timeline, right? And you're like, I don't resonate with my family. I don't resonate with my friends. Well, they're down here. You left them back here, right? And that's why where you are and what you say and your concepts, right? Your ability to take in light, because source is light. You come from light. Your ability to absorb light has gotten stronger. Your ability to absorb light and information and to act on intuition has gotten stronger. So it's vibrationally, you've moved out of fear and you're getting closer to source, right? The highest expression of who you are. This is your connection to your higher self. Source is your higher self when you're in alignment, when you're paying attention, when you're listening, right? So people here can't go with you here, right? If this is your highest manifestation and people are still operating here out of the past, this is why some people will talk to some people and the only version they have of us is what they knew of us to be and not of what we are now. This is why we leave people behind, because you're only seeing me here. You're only seeing me in the depressive state. You're not acknowledging who I am as I've ascended. I've evolved, right? This is a manifestation of that. Does that make sense? This is literally a physical manifestation of that. So as we move, right? So another thing, let me try to wipe this and start fresh. So, right? Let me start over. Let me start again, right? So we understand these things. And it's made clear, right? So let me switch. So we're back here, right? You're in this infinite consciousness, right? You're here in this infinite consciousness, right? There's different pit stops that you can make, right? Different leaps and bounds you can make across this consciousness, across these different timelines, right? So you're here and you want to get here. You want to get in alignment, right? So people have to pay attention to signs and synchronicities, right? Let me tell you about signs and synchronicities. This is how it works, right? When you're in alignment with source, this is a clear path. There's no interruptions, there's no roadblocks, there's nothing, right? It's just you here. Let's say you were here, right? There's no blockages between you and source. You are directly in alignment. You've acted on what you should, etc. Source, infinite consciousness, this creative force, this energy, this whatever you want to label it as, right? Source, we know, has the ability to descend. The energy from source descends and ascends, right? But as you get intuitive hunches that come from the crown on down, right? This energy is descending to you. It's coming straight to you, no interruptions, right? Say you're not in alignment. Say you're over here, right? Say you're over here. The roadmap to source getting information to you that you're asking for, because this is you. You're trying to follow the path. You're trying to make it make sense. You're whatever, right? When you're in alignment, that's your intuition at work. Intuition at play. That's source being able, your intuition working and being in alignment is source getting information to you with no interruptions, with no blockages, with clarity, right? Clarity and cognizance. That's what comes from source, right? So if you are here and you're asking for information to get to you, there's a different path that this energy has to take, right? There's a few things that we have to go through, right? A few blockages to be able to get this information to you, right? So people who get ideas and they act on that inspiration, that's divine inspiration and intuition at play. People who do not act on them, right? So say that sources, you're asking for, okay, I want, a new house, right? Say you're asking for a new house. You're sending this information from wherever you are. You're sending that information up to source. Hey, this is what I want, right? Then source is rearranging situations and circumstances on your behalf to get the information back to you to tell you how to get that thing. But because you're not in alignment, that information has to be relayed through so many other forms, right? So people will not listen to their information because they can't recognize it, right? So they don't recognize it because they're not in alignment. So sometimes you'll get a hunch through a billboard. Say you see a billboard and it says, this is your sign, If you're looking for a sign, this is it. And you see that billboard and you're like, oh, that's funny. And you don't pay attention to it, right? But this is source trying to use other ways to get that information to you. You're not in alignment. So source has to use every other form of energy to be able to get to you, right? So you're out of it. So you're out of alignment, right? So when you begin to follow that intuitive hunch, say you do see that billboard, you do see that sign, and you say, yes, I got it. Boom. That brings you forward on the timeline. That brings you here. That brings you in alignment. I heard you, I received the information, and I'm acting on it, right? Then you're asking for more guidance, right? So then you begin to ascend because you're acting on what you've got, right? So say you get into situations and circumstances that don't serve you. You're now moving backwards on the timeline. You're moving backwards. You're descending. We already learned that. So now you're descending back into spaces that you've already grew from, right? You're descending because you didn't act on your intuition. Or situations and circumstances have begun to replay themselves because you went backwards on the timeline, right? Versus moving forward. I'm saying if this is the past, let's say this direction is the past. This is the future, right? And you got the present. This is why they say the present is a gift, right? Because being in the present is your connection to source. So when you stay here, you stay present, you move forward, you move upward, you ascend, right? When you replay situations or situations, circumstances come up and you make choices that lead you back to the past, now you're going this way, right? When we really need to be going this way. So this is new situations and circumstances can't manifest because you're here. When there's some shit back here that we need to leave alone, we need to leave this here. We're not here, right? So you can be ascending and be operating out of the past still, because the past can paralyze you, right? That's getting down into the root, back to the root. You're paralyzed, right? Because the root does what? The root is where your fight or flight responses live. And when you live out of fight or flight, you're only living out of survival. You're not really present. You're not in the moment, right? So we magnetize based on this same principle, this same model. You are a magnet. This is you. This is you. Don't forget, this is you over here with your crown on, looking good. You're a magnet. So let me show you something. As a magnet, right? As a magnet, boom, we got our timelines again. Here we are, our connections, boom, 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 boom. You're a magnet, right? So whether you're here on this paradigm or whether you're here on this paradigm, right? You are a magnet, right? So say I'm in this space, right? Say I'm in this space. I'm in my root, right? But I'm in alignment. I'm magnetizing every moment. Every moment you are magnetizing towards you. This is how we manifest on the subconscious level, right? It's because you're a magnet. No matter where you are on this thing, you're magnetizing, right? Based on your vibration. Let's not forget, okay? You got joy, fear, and source. Now, there's more than that, but I'm just giving you an example. So you're magnetizing. Say you're in a state of joy. That means that your ability to magnetize things to you is at the same rate that you're vibrating, right? So when you're happy and things are going good and you're shit comes to you like this. Whatever you're thinking about It's magnetizing itself to you wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're on the lowest vibration or the highest vibration, right? If you are at this vibration and you're magnetizing at the rate of fear, it's like, how come things aren't happening for me? How come things are not manifesting? Because if you're in a state of fear or worry, it takes a lot longer for things to get to you. It's slow down. Can y'all see me? Are we back? Are we back? We good? Okay. So when you're vibrating in fear, it's a slow, very slow vibration. Very slow, right? So the rate it takes for source to get what you're asking for to you is going to take a lot longer, right? When you're vibrating out of joy, shit comes to you a lot quicker, right? So when you're here and you're manifesting and you're thinking good thoughts and you're vibrating at a very high rate, you're ascending at a very high rate. Your ability to pick up on information and act on that information is faster. When you live in fear, your ability to pick up on that information and process information is a lot slower of a process, right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So when we're in these high vibrations, right, your connection to source is, I'm present. I'm present. I'm listening. I'm in my awareness. I know that everything's going to be okay. Everything is working out as it should. This is the source vibration. Source says you're always taken care of. That knock and it shall be open, that's source vibration. That's anything you want, you can have. So long as you're in alignment to get it. It was in the fine print. As long as you're in alignment to get it, right? So when people don't know how to live here, they manifest out of fear, right? So I'm letting you know. So being in alignment with source, with creator, with the higher self, right? Connecting to your intuitive hunches, right? Knowing what is of the purest vibration, right? Because this is source. So having your connection to source is what keeps you on the straight and narrow, right? This is what gets you to your highest vibrational timeline, right? But operating out of anything else, fear, worry, whatever, those are slower vibrations, right? That's how it happens. So spiritually, even on a spiritual level, let me break this down even further. We're going to talk about 3D, 4D, 5D, right? 3D is where things manifest. Forget the diagram. 3D, 4D, 5D. 3D, this is a physical manifestation. When you are, let's say, you manifest sickness, right? Say you manifest some type of disease, right? You are pulling those low vibrations into the physical, right? It starts here, right? It starts on a spiritual plane, right? You manifest sickness out of worry, out of fear, out of whatever. You've taken the highest vibration of those negative thoughts, because people think that when you get to 5D, 6D, 7D, however many Ds, dimensions, right? The higher the dimension, the less of any, worries, fear, whatever ever happens. No. You can manifest the highest vibration of something terrible, right? So if you are fearful, and you are fearful at such a rate that you have now descended, you've created sickness in a physical way, right? Based on what you're vibrating and pulling towards you and manifesting. So this is why we don't reiterate. This is why we don't claim sickness or any of those things over our body, because it manifests on a mental, physical, emotional level. Having sickness in any of these other bodies, right, will manifest it in a physical way. So how can I explain it, right? So let me see if I can explain this in a different way so it makes sense, right? So okay, So let's start with, you have all of these bodies, right? Say this is you. We're going to start with you. This is you with your crown on and your cute little smile and everything. Boom. I don't know why your legs look like that, but whatever. So this is you, right? You have a body, right? This is your physical body. This is the 3D. Then you have your emotional body. You have your mental body. You have your spiritual body, right? Okay? This is, so you got your physical, your emotional, your mental, spiritual bodies, right? Your spiritual body is on the outside. This is connected, the spiritual body is connected to your aura, right? So when things manifest on a spiritual level first, it is because your energetic field makes contact with things on a spiritual level first. Does that make sense? This is your aura. Your aura picks up on things, but the outermost layer, right? The lightest part of who you are, that light body, right, is your aura. That's why people can see auras, because it's light, right? They see colors in the aura, just like you see a rainbow. That's the light. This is your light body, your etheric body. It makes contact first. It makes contact first. This is the layer that makes contact first. So when they say things manifest on a spiritual level first, it's because your spiritual body has made contact with this first. Then you get to a mental level, right? So now you're thinking negative thoughts because whatever has manifested on the spiritual plane is now manifesting in the mental levels of your body, in the mental part of the body, right? You have many bodies. So in the mental, it's penetrated the spiritual. If you don't correct it in the spiritual realm, this is spirit, it manifests in the mental. So now you're having mental disturbances, negative thoughts, right? These negative thoughts are closely related to your emotions. When we see bullshit, we're not supposed to get our emotions involved. Why? This is your emotional body. Don't get emotional about things. Why? Because it's the closest. Your emotions are the closest thing to your physical body. Does that make sense? The emotional body is the closest contact to the physical body. This is why physical trauma stays with us for so long, because it is closely connected to our emotional bodies. So it stays in our minds, in our hearts, in our spirits, right? So then you get into the physical. Any sickness that you have not corrected on any of these levels will manifest physically, right? And it manifested on whatever, on these planes of existence, right? We'll call it the chakras. Manifested in your solar plexus. This is where you were wounded. This is where you were vibrating at. So when people are affected during their adolescence, a trauma happens to them in their adolescence when they're learning to take action, or during the sacral plane of existence, down here or down here, it has manifested, been made manifest, and that chakra is affected. Does that make sense? Right? As we go through life, if we're living in our heart space, we deal with some type of heartbreak. It's manifested on all of these levels and it becomes physical. Some people manifest heart attacks, right? Their heart chakra was affected. That plane of existence that they were living on was penetrated from the outside, from the spiritual realm, and manifested physically, right? Manifest spiritually. You didn't correct it spiritually. Now it's mental. Then it became emotional. Now you are feeling the effects of it. Not only were you thinking about it, you didn't correct those thoughts. Now you're emotional. Now you're feeling it. You're starting to feel it. That feeling lives in the emotional body, and then it manifests in a physical way. But it could also be on the opposite spectrum. So when you get your physical body working and moving, right, your vibration is becoming higher. So you're manifesting outward. The physical body is doing the work, right? Then it manifests in an emotional way. So you're feeling better about yourself because you're working out. Then on a mental plane, your thoughts are becoming better because I'm looking, feeling, and emotionally aligning myself with this betterment, right? My thoughts are now more in alignment. And then it manifests on a spiritual level, right? And when you're manifesting on a spiritual level, you're getting things, right, that are in alignment with your purpose, that are in alignment with you, your heart's desires, right? So it manifests on the inward and on the outward, right? This is why you must correct it spiritually first before it manifests on in a physical way, right? So I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense to y'all? Because I don't want to keep going if it doesn't make sense. But people who deal with traumas, right? Say it was some type of sexual abuse, right? This will affect the root, right? This affects the root, your fight or flight response, right? Your protection. Either you overcompensate, so this is overactive, or you do nothing and it's underactive, right? This illnesses that happen within the physical body will cause depression, a dissension, right? When you're manifesting in the highest vibration, you pull in downloads from source, because as we know, source lives here. That's the everything. Everything outside of spirit, everything that is spirit, that's source. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, this is source. Here. Everything and nothing all at the same time, right? And when we manifest from here, we get those downloads, source connected to our crown, connected to our intuition. That all descends into the physical body, right? We have to integrate. This is why it's called downloads, because it's coming from source, coming from the purest form of intuition, and you're now having to integrate this information on every level, right? This is why it takes a minute. Sometimes we eat a lot, right? We're trying to ground the information, right? When you get a lot of downloads, sometimes you eat a lot. Sometimes you want to sleep because you're trying to bring that information into the physical, right? Does that make sense? So this is how manifestations happen: physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, right? How we're manifesting timelines subconsciously, consciously, whatever. You're always manifesting. You're always magnetizing, right? When we manifest out of our highest vibrational timeline, we're in alignment with source, we're in alignment with purpose, we're in alignment with our creativity, right? When we're not in alignment, we're manifesting at default. We're magnetizing things to us on a lower vibrational level. You don't want to manifest things out the root. You want to manifest them on a higher vibrational level, right? The heart on up. The bottom 3 chakras should be used for action only, right? Those are your action-oriented centers. They connect you to the earth. They help you make things physical. Higher dimensional planes of existence, right? The heart, the throat, the brow, the crown. Those are higher forms of expression, right? Literally vibrationally higher as well. When people talk about higher dimensions, it's literally a faster vibrating rate that you're at, right? So it's all connected. So with that being said, right? your whole purpose, right? The whole purpose of this is to clear your connection with Source. Source lives here. Your connection, right? This is you. This is you here, doing your thing, living your life like it's golden. You are on a grid of the collective consciousness. How you manifest, how you move along this grid, whether it's subconscious, conscious, or superconscious, your connection to Source, right? You're manifesting, you're magnetizing, no matter where you are, no matter if you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. We want to be here, in alignment with Source, so we can receive divine intuition and we can what? Ascend. Right? Manifesting here, this timeline, this is okay. You're at your highest vibrational timeline. You have some setbacks, but you stay here, right? Or you're here, you know, sometimes we waver up and down, right? But you vibrate really, really fast, really slow, depending on your connection. Depending on your connection to Source. Okay? So that's all I have for y'all. I just wanted y'all to get that information so timelines can make sense. So when I say I want to be in my highest vibrational timeline, right? That means I want to be here. I want to be in my closest unfolding, right? I want to see how the path unfolds when I'm closest connected to Source, what I came here to do, what I asked for, whatever. Right? Versus manifesting here, versus seeing things that bring me down into fear, right? Keep me super low vibrational, right? We want to manifest here. We want to say, even if I'm here, right? But the thing is, being too far here, as we've talked about before, being too far ahead in the future manifests anxiety. You're vibrating so fast and you're picking up so fast that you have no way to actually ground the information. Too far ahead is anxiety, right? Because you know that something's going to happen, but you don't know what. Your ability to ground out and understand the information isn't clear either. Being too far in the past manifests depression. So we stay present in order to ascend properly, right? Because what goes up must come down, right? So when we ground, we say we're going to ground ourselves. That means we're taking whatever information from here and we're making it physical. We're only trying to make it physical so that we can do what? Bring it to expression. Expression lives in the highest vibrational timeline. Expression lives in the throat chakra. Expression lives in the brow. Expression lives in the crown. Maybe not so much the crown, but the throat and the heart, all those places. That's where expression lives. Right? So I just want y'all to understand that. Right? So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that made sense. Right? Right? Okay? Hope that makes sense. Because I don't want to be dragging y'all around. But Source, your higher self, all connected. All connected through the crown. Right? The crown is your connection. This is why they say it's your divine right. Right? You are royalty from birth. That is your divine birthright. Your connection to Source and whatever comes out of that, this is divine birthright. You come from this. This is what makes it you come from the all-knowing, right? Then you have you as this person, as a child, you are closely connected to this, right? They say from the mouth of babes, right? The purity comes from this, right? When our children, they know no fear, things like that, because they're connected to source. As we get older and we have things that are brought into our reality, it causes us to vibrate slower and lower and descend, right? They say, oh, Yeshua, Jesus, whatever his name is, all of these entities, right? They descended upon the earth. Same way you descended. You came from source, right? Your connection is that consciousness, is that intuition. You descended and he ascended again, and he ascended. He ascended, right? Once again, there was no fear because the consciousness is that I'm only returning to which I came from. That's why there was no fear in death in this allegory, in this story. Jesus had no fear. There was no fear there. I'm okay with dying because I know I'm going right back here. And when we eliminate that fear and we know that this is all I'm going back to, there's no fear there. I'm coming down here to do what I got to do, to gather this information, to make it make sense, take it back up. Babies understand that, right? As they get older, they're inundated and they're bombarded with all this information, right? And that takes away their connection from source. This is why we need to keep our children pure. We keep them in their imagination, keep them whatever is their closest connection to source, right? So this is your divine birthright. Whatever comes out of this is your divine birthright, right? So is your divine birthright. And when source gives those divine sparks of information, sometimes we get that tingling around our crown, right? Because that's where the information comes into first. It's coming from the spiritual body. Your spiritual body is the closest connection to source, and it lives on the outside. So then it penetrates. And as we ground the information out, integrate it into our physical body, we then bring the information back up to be able to express it. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I hope it makes sense. If it don't make sense, I can't help you. I try to make it plain, right? This is you. Your connection is here. The more you stay here, the better your connection is, right? Right? So just like a cell phone, you're a transmitter, right? God giving you information, source giving you information, you are a transmitter, right? So if I try to connect to Wi-Fi, God is the ultimate Wi-Fi, the ultimate source of information. God is the ultimate search engine, right? If this is where the Wi-Fi is, this is the Wi-Fi, and you trying to connect your Wi-Fi from over here, your connection choppy as hell. This is you trying to connect to Wi-Fi that's over here, over there, right? So you trying to connect, you trying to get a good signal, and you're wondering why it's choppy. Now you're getting a lot of static. Now you're getting a lot of chaos that doesn't make sense to you, getting a lot of whatever over here, because your connection is fucked up, right? Boom. Bring it back to center so you can get the Wi-Fi. You trying to get the information. You way over here with it. I can't, how am I get to you? Now you sending source, now you sending spirit through hoops and loops to try to get to you. But because the connection is not clear, you can't even understand the billboard that says, yes, him, them, her, that is the one. That is it. But you can't hear that because you way over here. And then you seen the sign and you're like, I don't know. It's not clear. It's not clear because you're not connected. Okay, I'm done because I'm tired of yelling at y'all. I'm sorry to yell at y'all. I get passionate. Okay. Okay, that's it. That's it, I'm done. That's it. That's it. I said what I could say. Okay? I said what I could say. I did what I could do. Right? Also, one last thing. People be like, the veil is thin. They don't understand what that means, right? Say you have, oh no, this is not, we'll not do that one. So, say these are different planes of existence. These are different planes of existence. When you get to this plane of existence, it becomes more clear, right? You get 20/20 up here. It's 20/20 vision. Say you like, I don't know, 20/40 down here. 20/30 right here, right? These are different planes of existence. Here is pure clarity. This is the spiritual realm. People that can see this, that's having a clear vision, having a clear third eye, having your ability to be able to tune in, tap in, right? If you down here on this plane of existence, 20/40, it's not clear. It's a lot thicker, right? The veil here is a lot thicker. 3D, 4D, 5D. This is very physical, right? So this is the manifestation of physicality in the third dimension. You get into the fourth dimension, it becomes a little bit more clear, right? Get into the fifth dimension. You can see 20/20. Everything is very clear. So when they say the veil is thinning, right? That means your ability to see through these dimensions becomes a lot easier, right? So this is more physical. Us being in the physical realm. You are a person. I'm a person. You can see me a lot clearly. When people see apparitions and ghosts and things like that, that's because they're not living on this dimension. Your ability to see them is clear. But them living on this plane, they're here. You just have the ability to see through it, right? So when we say the veil is very thin, things are being exposed, no, you're just seeing it a little bit better. It was always there. You have to be able to tune in and tap in to be able to see these dimensions at each level, right? So this is the physical realm. This is the ancestor realm, right? This would be source. There's nothing but clarity, right? These dimensions, a lot harder to see. The 4D, the 5D, whatever. The 3D, much more physical. So this is how I can say it, right? We can't see through walls, right? That's being in the third dimension. We can't see through walls. It's very physical, very hard, whatever. You can't see through walls. But you can see through glass, right? Both material. They're both material. One you can see through, one you cannot. 3D is that wall. A lot harder to see through. 4D, 5D, that's glass. You're able to see things a lot clearly. You're able to see through people, circumstances, situations a lot more clearly when you're vibrating, operating, or peeking through the 5D. When you're seeing it from a bird's eye view, there's a lot less density. So this is your third eye. It's your third eye. Your third eye is up here on this plane. Your physical eyes are down here. So in the physical, I need glasses to see, right? But when it comes to my third eye, my vision is clear. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. I'm done. I told y'all I was done. Why y'all keep trying to keep me here? I gotta go. I gotta go. We'll get into this a different day with the dimension thing, because everybody got a different way of seeing it and viewing it. But I'm done. I'm here to let y'all. I've gotta go, because y'all be trying to keep me here, and I gotta go. Really. I got a babysitter just for this. Just so y'all know. Just so you know. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Donate. Donate. Subscribe. If y'all like the whiteboard, I will be back. Okay? I think this gets the point across. I think it makes sense. A lot of people are visual learners. I just wanted it to make sense for y'all. Okay? I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all. And we all connected. I will show you how we're connected in a later video, right? I'll break down the connection, right? How source connects us all, these different paths, whatever. So I love y'all infinitely. This is my son whiteboard. So that's why I had to get a babysitter, because I can't be using his stuff in front of him. He'll get an attitude. But that's for y'all. I love y'all infinitely. I gotta go. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. I hope it made sense. Rewind it if you got to. But yeah, thank you. Peace.